Welcome to the Beauty in You podcast, a safe place created for all women to come relax, get inspired, and be constantly reminded that they have not lost the ability to be who they once were. Join us as we dive into the true meaning of rediscovery through inspiring guests and topics such as healing, self-love, and creating a positive mindset. So sit back, relax, and get comfortable as we dive into this week's episode. Here's your host, Chiquita Mack.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Beauty in You podcast. I am super excited because we're heading to Australia with my bestie, I will say. She is absolutely amazing, and she is the reason the Beauty in You podcast even exists. She is the best business coach out there, the best visibility strategist out there, and I want to welcome Katherine Mackenzie-Smith. Hi.
Hi, that is so lovely. Thank you so much for saying that.
Listen, it is all true. There's like not one thing I said that's not true. Like you've been with me on my just the Chiquita Mack journey, I feel like, and especially with the Beauty in You podcast journey, which I'm just so happy to have you a part of.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I always love when we get to catch up.
It's always fun. Always
Yes.
fun. So as you know, with everything I do, I love to talk about rediscovery and all of our journeys. And we've known each other for quite a bit, I will say. And I always talk about the beauty of evolution and change. So I just want you to, lead us through your rediscovery journey.
Oh my goodness, it feels like such a big thing to even try and condense into words. And I can't even remember what we talked about last time. So I don't know if that means I'm going to end up repeating some of it. But I feel like this idea of rediscovery is so much about, it's not just a one-time thing. It's not just like, the way that we've maybe seen these narratives play out in the personal development world, in the online business world, that you have this rags to riches kind of story, and you have this like aha moment and your whole life changes forever. And I just don't think that that's really how it actually works. It's like every day is rediscovery. It's like every moment is an opportunity to learn something new and make a change or go in a different direction. And there's like something kind of bittersweet in that, I think. Because sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, have I not learnt this lesson already? Have I not already made so many changes and grown and healed so much? And I'm like going through this again. But also it means that when we're in those moments of being like, oh my gosh, is this even what I want to do? Is this like, what am I even doing here? That we can change that at any moment. So I feel like that's just been such a big part of my life journey and my business journey in terms of trying to see the world the way we've been conditioned to understand it and show up in it. And then also what that means, who I actually am in that. And for my whole life, and it feels like only now am I really trying to actually starting to understand that. It's always been trying to fit in and be the good girl and, be a good student because that's what your parents want and that's what the teachers tell you should do. And I was kind of this introverted, neurodivergent, which I didn't know at the time, kid, and trying to find my way in the world. And, that's when you sort of start to chameleon yourself to fit in and, get along with people and not rock the boat and all of these things. And as we go through life, we start to unravel those parts of ourselves, or as you say, kind of rediscover and find those parts of ourselves. And I think when I started my business and I actually started to move away from the corporate world, the career ladder, all of those things, that was when I really started to understand that I could continue to follow like this playbook that I had created for myself, or start to find a way that things were going to work for me. And it feels like an everyday rediscovering and unraveling, because we get so drawn into, well, everyone else is doing this, so I should be doing this.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like pulling yourself back and going, is this me? Is this where my strengths lie? Is this what I actually want? you can follow someone online and be like, oh, I want what they've got. And actually asking like, but what part of that do you want? And what are you willing to do that they've maybe done behind the scenes to do that? And then when you actually stop and realize, it's like, oh, actually, I don't want any of that at all. I'm not prepared to do any of those things. And then kind of continually understanding and unraveling where we get pulled up into that, and then what is really us. And yeah, I don't know if I've even answered your question, but I just feel like it's a lifelong journey, right?
It absolutely is. It is. And especially when we talk about like rediscovery and the entrepreneurship part. Oh my God, I have evolved from the beginning of the Chiquita Mac even until now. And like I started in 2020, it's 24, and I just now feel like I found a rhythm. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. It is.
And like you look at, you're right, you look at other people's social medias and they're like, find your niche. All you have to do is let me give you three quick steps on how to, and I'm like, BS. No, it changes all the time. It changes all the time. And it's where you're comfortable. And then also where you find that your audience resonates and what they're really taking and learning from you. When I first started, I was like, I'm helping moms rediscover themselves after childbirth, after motherhood. But I realized what I was really doing, I was doing that. But what I was really doing was helping moms heal. Like before we even get started, I'm helping them heal and rediscover who they are. So I'm like, this is what I'm doing. But it takes a minute to like realize, and you also don't know until you get out there and start trying something. But it is like ever changing rediscovery. And some days I don't like being an entrepreneur. Be honest. Some days I'm so aggravated by it and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Some days I love it. So, I mean, yeah, rediscovery every day, I would say is definitely the right answer. And there's no wrong answer, but it's definitely the right answer.
I'm so glad you agree. And I think even if you're not a business owner, which I imagine there are people who listen to this who are mums and who are employees and doing all of the different things, which there's none that are better than the other. We just all have different identities and things that we're doing. And I think that applies to everyone, because I'm sure, I'm not a mum, but I'm sure that there are plenty of mothers out there that are watching those perfect Instagram mum influencers and thinking that they're doing mothering wrong, right?
Just kidding,
No one's house looks like that. And I have this thing that I've started saying recently that is, once upon a time, we would say, like not even that long ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we would say, Instagram in particular, social media across the board, but mostly Instagram is like, you're seeing somebody else's highlights reel, and then for yourself, you're seeing your behind the scenes. So don't compare your behind the scenes to somebody else's highlights reel. But what I've realized now is we're in the stage of social media where we're not just seeing someone's highlights reel, we're seeing their marketing strategy. And so we're actually seeing a positioning and a message that is trying to get us to buy something. And so now if we're comparing ourselves to people on social media, we're actually comparing ourselves to a carefully crafted like marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And that is like a whole other level.
Marketing alone. I don't even want to talk about marketing. Stresses me out. All of it stresses me out.
All right, we'll talk about something else
all of it stresses me out. No, we are. And it's crazy because you don't understand that. Well, at least for myself, like business wise, like the marketing part of it, or the pain points when they say use this, use that. And at first you're like, I didn't realize I was getting, I don't want to say duped, but like wrapped into someone's marketing strategy until I was like actually in it. Like, oh, that's what that is. Okay.
Absolutely. It's
It
a
like
bit
took a minute.
scary. Yeah. And the number of times like that's happened as well. I've been doing this year. This month is my 10th year in business. And I know. Thank you. Thank you. It's crazy to think, but I still do it, and you get, because it's getting more sophisticated and it's getting more like kind of organic, like seemingly organic, because we're in like this stage now where the marketing has to evolve because people are becoming more clued in to how it's being done. And so that just makes it, yeah, it still happens. And you go, okay, learn a lesson there. I'm going to never make anyone feel like that in my business. And, what can I do next time to not get caught up in that? And also, what do I never want to do in my business? Because when I feel that feeling that you mentioned of like feeling duped, is actually like, oh, I never want someone to feel like that in my business. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that I'm really transparent about what I'm offering and that I'm not using pain points as my main driving force for people to sign up to work with me. And yeah, there's a lesson in everything, but that doesn't make it any easier or more ethical.
Right, right. And I always try to say, like, I'm going to give you 3 steps to help with your anxiety or to help with this. Understand it is a lot of work. Understand
Yeah,
that it's going to
yeah,
take time. We're
yeah.
putting it in a tool bag so you can, like,
I
it's
love
just
that.
being very clear, because I don't ever want anyone to think like, oh, I'm going to work with Chiquita and I'm going to heal in 3 months. No,
Yeah,
but I'm going to give you a pathway and we're going to
yeah,
work at it. And you're going to have the tools
absolutely.
necessary. So when something happens, we know how, so I think it's very important to just be transparent and
Mm.
to be clear. Like, I made 10K in 1 month, but then they don't tell you, like, they also spent like 100K on ads on the other
So
side of that.
convenient, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like, so, I mean,
Yeah.
just be truthful. Like, I did, but also, you have to just say, you have to spend money to make money. Say something like that. Just, people really get caught up and feel really, really, really bad about themselves when they're not making those 10K months or their homes don't look perfect. Just be like, girl, I know you're a mom. I'm a mom too. This is what my house looks like. You are okay. Like, that stuff's okay to me, at least.
I love that about what you do as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to talk about inspiration. A lot of just what you do, I feel like you're very inspiring. And I always find that your posts talk to me, because I do, well, okay, when I get around you, I'm not an introvert, but because we laugh a lot, but I
Yeah.
do feel like I am an introvert and, being a business owner, but you're always so inspiring. So who is your inspiration?
Oh my goodness. That is such a hard question. You're like the deep questions. It's early Monday morning
I
for me,
know, wake
so my
up.
brain is like, oh my goodness. Look, I have tried, I mean, I've obviously been through, the personal development and the healing and
Mhm,
all of these things over the years. And I actually try these days to follow less people and I still consume content,
mhm,
but I have really tried to take a massive step back from, listen, because I'm the kind of person, the introverted part of me as well is, that kind of more soft energy field, which means that the ability to be being influenced by the energy of others is literally, part of the definition of what being an introvert is. And so apart from the fact that it can be quite exhausting, it can
mhm,
also mean that people with bigger energies can kind of influence me so much more than I'm maybe even aware of. And that's something
mhm,
that has been a really big part of my rediscovery journey. And so I am actually inspired by the people in my community. And this is
mhm,
something that I'm really, really big on right now, that community has always been important, whether it is in life, in business, in mothering, in, families, in just local living. And it feels like now more than ever, that is going to become just a core thing that we need to come back to because
mhm.
of things like AI generated content and how much noisier it's about to get on social media than it
Yep.
already is, because of we've been in a situation where in-person connection has over the last few years become less a part of our experience, because for a really big part of that we were having to do things like not be out in the community and things, which has left us very isolated and like more connected and disconnected than ever.
Mhm,
But I think community is so important, and my favorite thing is I get inspired by the people in my community, people like yourself as well, who are every day trying new things and, feeling the old cliche kind of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and
Mhm.
wanting to inspire their kids and do something incredible that can show them that this is what you can do, because I'm doing it to show you and lead that path for you. And the amazing conversations that we have in my community space as well, they are the people who inspire me to go, oh, I should write a post about that. Or, oh, we had this amazing conversation, I wanted to share a little bit with you, outside of that space, my membership, so that you can kind of start thinking about it as well. And so
Mhm.
most of my inspiration actually comes from the amazing, deep, and meaningful conversations that we have in my Emerge and Expand membership. And that's where that comes from. I just let those conversations be co-created and just really energized by wherever we're all at in that moment. And that was the conversation we needed to have. And then sometimes I'll like cherry pick little parts of that to
Mhm.
share, more externally with a wider space, because they're the people who inspire me the most, the people who are in the trenches giving it a go every single day,
Yes.
more so than some billionaire out there that's, so out of touch with everything that's going on in the world.
Absolutely. Ah, see, I love that. I do. I love it so much. And your posts are always so like organic, like they're always so
Thank
real.
you.
And I like the fact that you do take those true and real conversations and you're very transparent. Like, hey, this is what it is.
Mm,
Hey, you might be feeling like this too. Let's talk about it. It's not any like sugarcoating or making anyone feel bad. Like it's always the truth.
mm,
And so I think that
thank
it
you.
is beautiful that your community inspires you and it
Mm,
definitely shows. You're just a good
thank you
person.
so much. Oh, thank you. So are you. I love our
Thank
conversations, and I that's so kind of you to say that as well.
thank you so much. I feel like, I don't know, everything. Okay, do you feel like everything is happening faster as far as the quickness of it all with AI happening, with social media? Like, do you feel, I know we try to like relax, especially myself, but I feel like even though I'm trying to slow down in the thick of everything, I feel like everything is just pulling me really, really fast. What are
Mm.
your thoughts on that?
Oh, that is such a perfect way to explain it. I feel like you've put words to a feeling that I feel all of the time.
Mhm.
And we do have these conversations in my community because a lot of the people who come into that space are more introverted and, deep thinkers and need time to process
Mhm.
and for things to simmer before they're ready to be out in the world, where we are living in a space where speed and, just hustling and getting it out there and all of that is so kind of put on a pedestal and so praised in, especially I think, the online business and the personal development space. And that's exactly how it feels. It kind of feels like, okay, I'm just going to slow down. I'm just going to take all these things off my plate because, I've got a lot going on in my personal life right now. And I absolutely find myself taking 6 things off my plate and then adding 7 new things onto
Mhm.
it.
Yes.
And I actually, in August last year, was feeling really burnt out, and I just stopped doing everything. So my
Mhm.
podcast is on hiatus, and still it was only supposed to be for a month. It's been like 5 months. I haven't made a YouTube video in months either. I
Mhm.
took so much off my plate. But even when I've been starting to think like, oh, I want to put these things back on again, then all of a sudden it goes from 0 to 100. And it is really tricky to, apart from the fact my brain moves so much faster than the rest of me does.
Mhm.
it's it's just like I have one idea and suddenly it's 20 ideas. The stepping back and turning everything off, shutting down all the social media accounts, stepping back and actually physically forcing ourselves to slow down, I think, is the way that we can remember. Like I will sometimes be like, oh, I can't do that on the weekend because I've got this stuff I need to do for work. And that's not why we started our businesses, to be working all the time.
Yeah.
And when you actually do take a step back and have a break, go out, see the world, catch up with friends or family,
Mm.
that is when you feel just so much better when you come back because you actually had a chance to give yourself a break and disconnect. But
Mhm.
also, I find that my best ideas don't come when I'm sitting at the computer and I'm
Mhm.
trying to force an idea to come to life. It always comes from I've gone out for a walk, I've gone and spent the afternoon with my mum, something like
Yeah.
that, instead of being so plugged in all of the time that we're just constantly having our attention, like going off in all different directions. And it's almost like you have to intentionally force yourself to stop and slow down.
Mm.
And I use the analogy or the fable of the tortoise and the hare all the time because so many of
Yeah.
my clients are like, I move so slow, everything takes me so much longer than everyone else. And it's like, be the tortoise. Just be the tortoise.
Tortoise
And so
wins
that's
the
one of our little
race.
mottos. Yeah, you don't have to be moving at the pace everyone else and AI and the internet is because you're on your own journey. And that doesn't necessarily look the way that you are trying to force it to look. It's going to
Mhm.
play out the way that it's meant to. And yes, you can control elements of that, but your pace is your pace.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so much more authentic if you are true to that instead of forcing you to be someone that you're not and move at a pace that's not aligned for you.
Absolutely. And just getting back to the basics. I think when I have that thought, like, you gotta hurry up, you gotta hurry up, you gotta hurry up, what brings me back to life is like, you have to slow down because you're talking about healing and you're helping someone
Mm,
that may have gone through something that is extremely traumatic. I don't feel like I need to rush and get the product out there as much as I feel like it needs to process correctly and be right. Because the last thing I need is to get some crap that's out there that's crap, right? And someone follows it and they're like, I feel worse than I did
yeah.
before. So I try to think everything through and really process. I'm a slow processor. I'm very slow. Okay. So I try to walk it back and think it through. And that does help me like slow down when I'm like, "Oh, you're still working on the course part. Oh my God. You need," and it's like, yeah, I am. Because I record it and then I go back and I follow it. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or, oh
Mm,
no, that doesn't make sense because I didn't really touch on this key aspect. Or, let's go back to the grieving process and let me add this because I feel like that'll really help. Like all those things happen in my head and I'm like working it forward and backwards. So I always try to
mm.
remember like I could possibly change somebody's life. And I definitely don't want it to be in a negative way because I'm trying to keep up with this fast-paced world out there
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
so honorable because that is not what everybody else is
I
doing.
know.
That is not what most people are not thinking of. What is the impact potentially on my
Mhm.
community if I rush this or if I overwhelm them with
Mhm.
too much theory and too much content? The fact that you're putting so much thought into what the impact is so rare and amazing as well.
Oh, thank you. I think people need to do it. Just slow down. I know it's
Yes.
hard, but just slow
It
down.
is.
I
But I
know it's
also
fast.
think, yeah, and I also think that we can have an idea and we can have a project like a course or whatever that might be,
Mhm.
and we can try and force it to be ready by a certain date. We can say, okay, I'm going to have this out by the end of the month, or I'm going to have this out by this time. And I genuinely believe, because I've seen this and I've been through it so many different times and with clients and things as well, that these bigger ideas that encompass such a big part of our purpose and why we're here and why we're even doing this work requires it's not just on our timeline. So
Mhm.
sometimes we have to have a lived experience to be able to embody certain lessons or go through healing of our own before
Mhm.
we're ready to hold space for that for somebody else. And so I often think as well, even if you do try to push it, if it wasn't ready and you weren't ready for that to be out in the world yet, there's going to be things that, that resistance, or you
Mhm.
accidentally delete everything on your hard drive and then you lose all those videos, or you just,
Mhm.
do that where you keep kind of changing things or it feels like, oh, I don't actually want to do this today. Why don't I want to do it? All of the things that we kind of blame ourselves for and say, well, I'm just being lazy, or I'm just not motivated, or I'm not moving fast enough.
Yeah.
So much of it is actually there's something else that I'm meant to learn or experience or embody or heal for myself before I'm ready to actually infuse that into this program or this course or this community that I'm holding space for. And I just think that that's going to add so much depth and richness to it that
Mhm.
wouldn't have been there if it had come out 6 months ago when you had hoped it would be ready, or a year ago when you expected it would be done by. Sometimes we have to go on a bit of a journey ourselves to be ready for that, work to come through in the way that it's meant to for us as well.
Absolutely. I think
Mm,
for myself, I say I'm building generational wealth, right? Eventually, like
yeah.
the kids will take this over. You will take this over, is what you will do this. No, but it's to build generational wealth and
Yeah.
actually going back and making sure everything is in place, which is what I started
Mm,
doing this year, is going back and
amazing.
like making sure every part of the Chiquita Mac is like set up in the event not something happens, it's set up the right way. And even with the nonprofit, like we're launching, so it'll be like the Chiquita Mac for profit, and we're going to have Rediscovery, which will be our official nonprofit. And we're working that now. And so it's like, it's taken a long time. Didn't realize how long. See, and that's one of the things, you have these great ideas and you write them all down. And we're doing it. I'm like, oh my God, this is taking such a long time. However, this is going to be so worth it
Yeah.
because we were
I
already
think
doing
that's
the work.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that's what people forget. Like, you're talking generational wealth here. That's
mhm,
not gonna happen in 4 weeks.
mm-mm,
You're not laying that foundation that it's gonna be done in, even maybe 3 months. It's gonna
mm,
take time
gonna take
for
time.
that to be sustainable, for that to have its anchors in and its roots in
Yep.
to last.
Like my
What
brain,
an
I'm
amazing
like,
thing.
we're gonna have scholarship program, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do this, and they're like, okay. I'm like, okay. I know it's gonna take a long time, but it's there. So it's like, just make sure you do
Amazing.
things right and just remember why you started. And, for the future, like our community's gonna be set, we're gonna be set, we're gonna help a lot of
Mm.
people in the long run. Yeah. I just really feel like as I go through my rediscovery journey. And like you said, every day, whether no matter what part of our lives we're in, we're going through some sort of journey. And
Mm.
every day I feel like the bad parts of my journey, I did not go through for no reason. So we talk about
Mm.
learning lessons, from the things we experience. So when I do have those days where I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, nope, I did not go through all that years ago for anything. So I'm going to keep plugging away, even though I don't want to. So I
Mm.
wanted to ask you, how much do you value your experiences and what lessons have you learned from them?
Oh my goodness, so much. I mean, really, all of these pieces, I think sometimes from even the challenges, it's not even oh, well, this came out of that, because sometimes it's this awful thing happened, and the resilience and who I showed myself to be in those moments, and the taking responsibility for not what happened, but for the healing part of it. That you know, that circumstance was not by choice, but I will do what I can to heal from that so that I don't perpetuate that onto other people. And I will take the time to, honor that part of myself that survived that, or that went through it and came out the other side. Because I think sometimes in the healing space, it can be so much like, oh, that happened to me, so I could become this. And that's my personal belief. I don't personally believe that. Horrible
Mhm.
things happen every single day that people do not deserve, did not manifest,
Mhm.
all of these things. But we are responsible for our healing journey. And taking those experiences and not going, oh, I'm going to look for the silver lining in this, but like, okay, what did I learn from that? What came out of it? And what can I do to make sure that I never pass that along, or I never do that to somebody else, or
Mhm.
that I take the kindness and compassion for myself and heal that part of myself so that I don't keep reenacting that trauma over and over again in other parts of my life as well. I
I
don't know if
think
that answered your
that
question.
when you think about the healing journey, so I can only speak for myself. In the beginning,
Mm,
I didn't want to go through the healing process because I felt like, okay, everyone always said like how strong I was, right? Whatever that means. Now I'm
mm,
like, that's trash.
mhm.
Don't say that. But everyone being like, you're so strong. So I'm like, well, if I'm strong, then I shouldn't be feeling all this pain, or I shouldn't
Mm,
be, I'm fine, I'm strong. But reality was I was not. And it was weighing on myself, like not only my mental health, but like physically, I was like really, really skinny, like not healthy wise. And it started to take a toll on myself. And that's when I realized how important the healing journey is, because I now I'm a firm believer, like if you don't take care of that stuff, it's going to find a way to come out, and it's going to keep coming up even as an
yeah,
adult.
yeah,
Like, especially as an adult, like it comes back out. Like that happened when I was 5, and it's going to come out when you're 35.
yeah.
So you have to somehow like take care of that. Um,
Mm,
because I mean, it's scary, but it's so worth it. It's just so worth
mm,
it. And just being that example. And I try to teach my daughter, like, whatever she's feeling, I'm like, okay, you're mad. Okay, be mad. Like, it's okay. Be sad. It's
yeah.
okay. You're okay to, I'm not gonna be like, you're so strong. Stop crying. Like,
Mm,
I just don't think
yes.
I think that's not right. It's like, okay, and I'll say you're allowed to have your moments. Like, it's okay.
Mm,
You don't have to walk around and pretend to be happy all day. You have to feel, you have to allow yourself to feel. If you want to cry, you can cry. Like, it's okay. I'm not going to be like,
mm,
oh my God, you're crying. Go to your room. Like,
yes. Oh yeah, being punished for having an emotion. Isn't that
you don't have
funny? And I
emotions
think
around
our
here.
yeah. And I think like our generation is one of the first to actually realize and understand this because we were taught otherwise. And
Hmm.
we were like, no, 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 I don't want to end up with all of that trauma, at
Hmm.
the age that, our parents are at and things. One of my favorite things I've ever heard about emotions is that emotion just means energy in motion. And when you think about
Hmm.
it like that, they always passes, tears, anger,
Yeah.
all of the sadness, all of the feelings, they always pass. And the longer that we try to push them down and push them down, the more that they're going to just build up. And so I love the idea of thinking of it as like, it's just going to pass through me and then it's going to be over and I'm going to feel so much better on the other
Hmm.
side. And I wish that I'd been taught that as a kid because, oh my goodness, that would have saved me so much
I
trouble.
know. Me too. Me too. I
Your
just
kids are so
remember them.
lucky.
It's so funny now because like when you talk to like older generations and they're like, you guys are so different now. You give your kids opinion. You allow them to have opinions. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
do.
Because we don't want our kids to be dealing with the trauma that we have to now deal
Thank you. Like, we're
with.
still trying to process what you did when we were 10. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
fine.
heal all the intergenerational trauma that also hasn't been dealt with, that's been passed down to us too.
Like, we gotta break this cycle. Like this is
Yes,
craziness that's happening.
for sure. For
Oh my
sure.
God. So amazing. So amazing. Time is it's just crazy. It's just crazy
Mm,
how everything is just evolving in such a way. I hope that with everything, like whether I hope that I'm setting a good example. I do worry about that. Even though I try my best to set a good example, I always worry that like because the pace of society and everything like that, I worry that mom's thoughts won't stay there, I guess. And I
mm,
always worry like, well, what if I'm like doing all of this and I'm trying to instill the goodness and then I don't know, somehow they still I know they're gonna have something, but I don't want it to be like, well, because my mom did this, I feel
mm.
like that. Like I do worry about that. I do with the times and
Yeah.
things like that. It's like really scary. I don't know.
Course. Oh my gosh, that's why I don't have kids. It's a lot of responsibility.
You can borrow
Look,
mine. No, I'm just kidding.
that's a long commute.
But listen, I will come with them because I do want to come visit.
Look, my sister and I have this thing that we always say to each other, and it really helps when you are thinking about like, oh my gosh, that, I do this because that's what my parents, did or whatever. Like, you're doing the best you can. And I think that if we could all give ourselves the grace and the compassion to remember, like, you're doing the best you can, and also remember that about everybody in our lives as well, that harm will be caused regardless of intention, because that's just, we're humans, we're messy, we're figuring it out, we're doing the best we can. And if we can have that reminder for ourselves and also for the people that we love, that doesn't mean that, we're going to forgive every single thing and we're not going to be hurt by it. But that's really helped me on my journey to just remember I'm doing the best I can every day. And, my parents did the best that they could. And yes, that has led to certain things, but also, how have I learned and grown from that as well? And I hope that that gives you some
yeah.
compassion for yourself, because
like
from
that.
everything I see, you're amazing, and your kids are so lucky to have you.
Thank you. Yeah. I think the part when you're like not just we're doing the best that we can, but they did the best that they could too. Like, I think that's really important, and that's good. I'm gonna keep I'm gonna have your little voice in my head saying that you're doing the best you can.
I keep telling my sister to design a t-shirt so that we can just like pass those out.
Can I trademark this, please?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So you're at your 10-year. Where do
Yes.
you see yourself in the next, I'm not gonna say 10 years, I'm gonna say like 5. Where do you see your business
Oh,
going now?
look, it's really interesting because I know you're building an empire, and I love, love, love that for you. My favorite thing about the last 10 years has been the journey that I've been on, the people that I've got to meet in this time, the things that I've learned about myself, probably even more so than like learning the business stuff. And I have kind of, in the last year or so, it has just become this deep, deep passion of mine to really empower, inspire people who love the idea of having this cozy business. So I know you're building an empire. I know lots of people out there are thinking about this, like, legacy for the kids, and this big empire kind of business. And I'm kind of like, what about the people that don't want that? And so even though I've been doing this for so long now, and I did take a hiatus in between where I completely burnt out, and that was where a big part of my rediscovery happened. I love the idea of just this kind of sustainable solopreneur cozy business, which is what I talk about all the time now. And it's like, not everybody wants to have the big, corporation and managing a team and doing all of these things. Some people are going to start a business and maybe not impact 1 million lives, but maybe impact 100 really, really deeply, and still feel fulfilled and still make enough money to be able to live a good life and do everything they want, because they're just not looking to manage a team and do all of these things that we kind of have associated with what a successful business looks like. And so I, 5-10 years down the track, I kind of still see myself, just playing and finding joy in the work that I'm doing, creating, because it's my favorite thing, creating this community that I love so much and is such a big part of it, and growing it in a way that doesn't feel like that speed, that you were mentioning before, where it's like this rapid overnight success growth, but it just be this beautiful, slow, sustainable business that just means that, I can go, hey, I normally don't do calls on a Monday, but I really want to talk to Chiquita this week,
Call
and,
me.
be able to do that, and it be just so chill and on my own terms. And I've tried having VAs and things before, and I just don't work consistently enough to be able to maintain that without feeling like I'm letting everybody down. And so it's just become this really important thing for me that, like, I don't need an empire. That's not what I'm personally wanting to create. I love the idea of my cozy business showing up for my people and my clients, and being able to then, turn off the computer for 2 days and my business is still
Still
running,
fine.
and it not be yeah, this thing where I'm just constantly putting out fires and things. That's
Mhm.
just not me. It's not why I created a business. So I don't know. I haven't really thought, I can't think that long term
Ah,
because I suddenly go like, oh, I want to do this. And then I go and do that. But yeah, I will see, won't we? Hopefully we'll be able to connect again
we will.
in 5 years and
We're
check in.
stuck. Trust
You'll
me. I'll
have
be
your
like, where are
huge
you at?
empire.
I will hunt you down. Like,
You'll be like, who are you again? I'm so famous in my empire. I've forgotten all the little people.
that's not true.
I know. I know. You would
I
never.
I have big dreams, but I will never forget who
I
has helped me
know. You're
build
way too
what
wonderful
I'm
for
trying
that.
to build. And you have definitely, like I said in the
Mm.
beginning, like you have been such a big part of my journey. Like even like with the podcast and even before the podcast, you inspire me and what everything you put out there is real and I can always relate.
Mm.
So I'll never
Thank
forget
you.
any of the people that have
I'm
helped
joking.
me. No, seriously though, but any of the people that has helped me, like I just feel like you guys all have a big part, like of my heart.
Mm.
And hopefully one day we can like meet in person.
I
It'll be
really
like
hope so.
so
I
cool.
really hope so. No,
So
and
cool.
I honestly, I feel the exact same way about you. I watch what you're doing and the amazing impact you're having. I love the way that you bring your kids into it. And it just feels like, even though you have these huge dreams and aspirations and you're working towards those and they're so like incredible, there's like a warmth and a coziness to what you're doing as well that is just so much joy and family and community. And I'm in awe of everything that you do. I really
Thank
am.
you.
And I see you giving back so much. And again, I think that's something that's really not as big in the online business space as I wish that it was. And I'm also so inspired by you. I can't wait to connect in 5 years and see where we both are. It's going to be
Oh my God.
amazing.
It's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. And like I don't know what it's always been like my community has always been so important to me, like to give
Yeah.
back, even when I didn't have it to give back, I would still give back.
Yeah.
It's just always been that. And my mom used to always say, like, I don't know what it is about you, but like every time we'd be in the car,
Mm.
she's like, every time we're in the car, there's always someone on the side road that's cars broke down or something. I'm like, Mom, can you please call and make sure they're okay? Like she's like, it never happens.
Oh.
Like I've always been like, she'll tell you stories like how I've always been like wanting to help and like just with the new venture of what it's gonna happen. It's just gonna take time. But
Oh, it is. I know.
like, but like with the scholarship program that I want
Mm.
to start, which I will start, I just want to be able to impact not a lot of kids at one time. I want my impact to be meaningful. So the
Mm.
program I want to have, I don't want a max of like 10 kids max. That's it. But I want to be able, each kid that comes to my program, I want to be able to offer them like at least a 5K scholarship. Like that is my goal. And like, I'm
Wow.
like, I don't know. I did the math, how much I need, how am I going to do this? And we're going to do it. We're going to figure it out. And we're going to help these moms take the financial
Mm.
burden off to get their kids a jump start in school and education. And so I just feel like that is just all so important. Like you have to be able to
Yeah.
give back to your community. There's a lot of people that need help and they're not
Yeah.
just gonna admit it either. And you have to do it in a way that does not degrade them and it makes them feel good and warm. One of the compliments I always get every year we do the Thanksgiving baskets. And they always tell me like, I can literally look at what you give out and I can tell
Mm.
you put time and love into it. And I do. I'm very strict. I'm not strict about a lot of things, but I'm very strict about this. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I accept whatever I get. However, I
Mm.
push that I would like it to be name brand. There's a reason why. Name brand foods, brands only. Big baskets, pretty bows in there neatly, everything. Because it's already hard to admit that you need help.
Mm.
Last thing you need is for
Yeah.
someone rolling up to you, giving you something in a trash bag. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, here
Absolutely.
you go. So it's like, no, you're going to
Mm.
get this big giant basket with a pretty bow on it, with a big turkey in it, and it's going to be so beautiful. And this is for your family. And I just feel like it makes them they don't feel as bad and they're actually excited about it. So yeah, I definitely take the time and effort into giving back to my community. Like last
Mm.
year I had every family was in here. We were folding 200 boxes.
You're amazing.
So I just
Oh,
think
I
I
love
think it's
that
very
so
important.
much.
Think it's very
Yeah,
important.
it is. Yeah, and to be able to do that as you're building something means that it's always going to be in the foundation of what you're doing. And that is just so inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Yeah. Oh, so much.
I'm
You know, we
just
got
so inspired
so
now.
much. You when I talk to you,
You're
I'm like, oh my
amazing.
God, it's not even I get so excited.
Me too. This is an amazing way to start the week.
Always, always. I know you're Monday, and I'm like, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, Monday. I don't want to go. Not at all. So do you have anything? I know you're hitting your teen. Do you have anything you want to share with the audience? Anything that you have going on right now, though, that you want to get
What's
out?
going on right now? Oh, so I'm just about to launch. This has been one of those things. It's so funny that we've talked so much about this today. That about 6 months ago, when I put everything on hiatus, was so that I could build this really low, accessible, low entry point membership about building community and nurturing community. So I'm going to definitely have to get you to come in and be a guest teacher because I know
Of
that you're just
course.
going to have so much to offer in that. It's called the Cozy Community Creator Hub, and it's just about to launch. It is like $7 a month, like super, super affordable, because I genuinely believe that I see a lot of people who are in business, who are just starting out, who haven't got an audience yet. And they're like, well, I'm posting on Instagram. Where are my people? Where are my clients? And unfortunately, Instagram in 2024, that is just not necessarily gonna be how that works.
So
It
different.
is so noisy there, and the AI stuff where people can just generate so much more content than ever before is going to really, I think, have an even bigger impact, which then makes that entry point and the staying with it, because you have to kind of keep up or feel like you have to keep up with that, so much harder. That this year I really wanted to focus on, okay, let's stop worrying about posting on Instagram and building 100,000 followers and, getting however many subscribers, and actually focus on creating a tight-knit community. I don't know if you've ever read the 1000 True Fans article.
No.
I can't remember who it is written by. I really should remember that. But it's basically like, you don't have to have 1 million followers. You need to have 1,000 people who give you, $100 a year. And
Yeah.
then you have, right?
Seriously.
That's not even that much money, and it's not that many people. And so that is kind of what we're focusing on, is like, let's stop trying to worry about spending all this busy work doing social media posts that nobody even sees, a lot of the time. Even if you have a big following, the
Little bit.
organic reach these days is so low. So I wanted to create this community where people could actually focus on, I'm going to create this tight-knit community, and then I'm going to share from the inside out. So this is what's happening in the group this week. This is, a new training that's just dropped. This is a conversation that we had. And so instead of trying to create content for Instagram and send an email to your list and create, Facebook group content, and then, oh, I've got to post on TikTok and I've got to do a reel and I've got to do all these things. Actually, and then my podcast and all of this, actually focusing on showing up for your community, having these amazing conversations, and then being able to repurpose your content from there, and kind of spread that wider. So that's what's kind of coming. It's one of those things like what your course that you mentioned, where it's like, oh my gosh, I thought this was going to be done in a month, and it has taken 6 months of changing things and adding new bits in, and but it's nearly ready to go. So I'm super excited about that at the moment.
I know it's going to be awesome. I know it's going to be
Thank you so
awesome
much.
because yes, that is probably the best way to go. It's focus on a small bit
Yeah.
and push it
Oh, I
out.
don't have the energy.
And
I wouldn't
read.
even know what to do with 1 million followers.
That's a lot of
I would cry and then
repurpose.
run
I think is
away.
so important. Like just teaching them
Yeah.
that repurposing, because I definitely do. Like the post is an email, it's all the same. It goes-
Yeah.
and it's
Because not
easier that
everyone's going
way.
to see it on
Yeah,
everything, right?
no
And
one's gonna
even if
see
they
on
do,
everything.
they're in a different headspace when they're scrolling on Instagram versus when they're reading their emails. They're in a
Yep.
different headspace. When they see it as a carousel or a reel versus like a full blog post or a podcast episode.
Yep.
And also, not everyone follows you everywhere as well.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, let's minimize how much output and actually let more people see one thing than having 10 things out there that only a few people see. And then it just kind of goes and collects dust in the online black hole.
You're so awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of all. Listen, y'all, y'all understand the Beauty in You podcast would not be a podcast without her. Like, I did not know what to do. I needed help. So I reached out and I said, can you help me, please? And she has literally taught me everything that I know.
Aw,
I know.
you were already doing it. But thank you. Thank you. I will receive that graciously, and also know that you're a super woman, and you did all of the hard work.
I didn't know nothing. I didn't know what to use, what platform to use, how to put nothing. Zero. Just nothing. And here I am. I look like a pro, but that's because
I also love that I think we connected in a random podcasting Facebook group. And I think this is the one relationship or connection that I've had from that space that has just withstood time. And I'm so grateful for that, because what an absolute joy.
Oh, it's like that one time. It's like, here we are years later. And so I love it. I love it. Yeah, I don't talk to anybody in that group. Now I think about it, I'm like, I don't even have to.
Just you.
You. So it happened for a reason. Everything happens for
serendipity.
So I do believe that. And we were meant to be.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for that, because I have loved connecting with you every time we get to catch up. It's such a joy. And then I just see you on Instagram, and I'm just endlessly in awe of all the incredible things that you're doing. It's just such a joy.
Thank you so much. Can you tell the beautiful audience where they can find you and to keep up with your new adventures that are coming out?
Sure. Thank you. So if you're listening to this on a podcasting platform, you can catch up on some old episodes of my Emerge and Expand podcast, which Chiquita was a guest on in the first season. And that is coming back soon. That's just super easy because you're already in the podcasting platform. You can go check it out straight from here. And on pretty much every social media platform, you can find me at Miss_KMS. That's probably the two easiest ways to find me right now.
Yay! So again, thank you so much for being a part of my journey. I know this is not the last time. We'll be catching up, either one or the other. I'm going to be in your space, or you're going to be back in my space. We're just going to keep it going. So
love that. Thank you so much for having me as well. It's been so much fun, as always.
Of course. All right, you guys, thank you for tuning in to the Beauty in You podcast. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Beauty in You podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Visit us at thechiquitamac.com or join us on Instagram at thechiquitamac for your daily motivation and inspiration. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Until next time.